for the Justice Department to step in and address this. Because at some point, there has to be hate crime. There has to be something. This ain't a physical contact sport. This ain't a combat sport. I should say that. Basketball isn't a combat sport like boxing, UFC, and all these other like combat sports. Basketball is just a little contact here and there, but nothing to garner what Caitlin Clark has been facing. Now, we're going to read some of this. It says Caitlin Clark has done
recent developments suggest that Caitlin Clark's treatment in the WNBA may constitute violations of her civil rights, with growing calls for federal intervention. This sensitive matter has sparked considerable debate, with many observers calling for the Department of Justice to examine the situation more closely. The evidence appears substantial that Clark's civil rights have been compromised. She has faced what can only be described as physical attacks nearly every time she steps onto the basketball court. There appears to be a systematic campaign targeting this young athlete, and advocacy for fair treatment continues regardless of online criticism. When any player faces unjust treatment, speaking out becomes necessary because everyone can acknowledge one undeniable fact: no WNBA player in 2024 has endured the volume of flagrant fouls and physical attacks that Caitlin Clark has experienced.
Has been facing. Now, we're going to read some of this. It says Caitlin Clark has done for the Women's Basketball Association what Michael Jordan once did for the NBA. Made it more valuable, watchable, and marketable. Instead of protecting this transformational star, the league's leadership ignores the relentless targeting of Miss Clark, treating its greatness assist as if she were a PR headache that approaches could turn into legal liability for the WNBA. And I've been saying this, my goodness, Caitlin Clark could sue this.
This pattern of abuse must be stopped and eliminated through whatever means necessary. Recent incidents during games show players being shoved and knocked down, highlighting how this league operates more like a combat organization than a basketball competition. Officials consistently fail to call obvious fouls against certain players, but particularly when Clark is involved, it seems almost intentional that she should suffer injury. While controversy generates revenue, at what point does the cost become too high? Consider this scenario. If Caitlin Clark were a family member, a daughter, sister, or relative, would anyone tolerate this level of physical abuse night after night? Part of her current absence from play directly results from this ongoing mistreatment.
It's my goodness. Caitlin Clark could sue this league, guys, just for targeting her in general. Just for her being targeted could garner a lawsuit from Caitlin Clark team. And the Wall Street Journal coming out with this, could something be in the works? I'm not saying that it is, but could something possibly be in the works with Caitlin Clark team in looking into this thing as a hate crime? And that's something going on. Since she has joined the league, Caitlin Clark Impact has.
The situation has gained significant attention beyond individual voices. The Wall Street Journal in New York published an important piece examining this issue. Their article, titled "The WNBA and Caitlin Clark Rights," argues that if the league refuses to protect its superstar from a hostile environment, government intervention becomes necessary. Finally, a major publication has stepped forward to address this concern. Advocacy for Department of Justice involvement has been ongoing, as this situation may constitute hate crimes. Basketball is not a combat sport like boxing or mixed martial arts. While basketball involves some physical contact, nothing justifies the treatment Clark has received.
The league, Caitlin Clark Impact has been significant, merchandise sales and all of that. But a report came out last year stating that Caitlin Clark Impact and her being targeted, she had more pretty much technical hard fouls put against her more than any other player. Now, Ken Swift put this out. If the league won't act to protect its superstar from a hostile environment, the government should do so. Now, that was the article there.
The article draws parallels between Clark's impact on women's basketball and Michael Jordan's influence on the NBA. Clark has made the sport more valuable, watchable, and marketable. Instead of protecting this transformational athlete, league leadership ignores the constant targeting of Clark, treating her success as if she were a public relations problem that could become a legal liability for the WNBA. Clark could potentially file a lawsuit against this league simply for the targeting she has endured. The Wall Street Journal's coverage raises questions about whether Clark's legal team might already be exploring options regarding hate crime charges and related legal action. Since joining the league, Clark's impact has been enormous, particularly in merchandise sales. However, reports indicate that Clark has been subjected to more technical and hard fouls than any other player. The article emphasizes that if the league won't protect its superstar from a hostile environment, government intervention should occur. Public response to this coverage has been mixed. Some worry about potential retaliation from WNBA establishment figures, while others praise the article's brilliance and accuracy. There has been criticism suggesting Clark exaggerates contact, with some claiming she flops to draw fouls. Recent game footage contradicts these claims. A recent incident showed another player being violently shoved to the ground, demonstrating that such behavior is apparently acceptable in this league because it generates ratings. The WNBA needs these ratings and drama to remain relevant, which creates incentives for allowing this type of conduct. Ironically, when the player who shoved Clark was ejected and received an upgraded foul, it highlighted inconsistent officiating. When Dejanai Carrington previously pushed Clark to the ground, it wasn't even called a flagrant foul until after review. The Wall Street Journal's coverage of the WNBA and Caitlin Clark's civil rights represents a significant development. If an investigation were launched examining Clark's targeting in the WNBA, it would generate enormous attention because substantial evidence exists proving she has been targeted and her civil rights violated. The implications for the league could be severe. Clark could potentially bankrupt the WNBA through legal action. If she assembles a strong legal team and pursues this investigation, the league could face financial ruin. The organization already struggles financially, and a successful lawsuit from Clark could destroy them completely. The evidence supporting such legal action continues to mount, and the potential consequences for the WNBA remain significant. This situation represents more than just sports controversy. It involves fundamental questions about civil rights protection in professional athletics. Indiana Fever head coach Stephanie White recently provided an update regarding Caitlin Clark's groin injury situation. White, who serves as the team's head coach, addressed Clark's current status during an ESPN appearance, notably avoiding any problematic phrasing about the injury being beneficial in any way. White has established herself as a capable coach throughout her career. While some critics point to questionable rotation decisions and slower-paced gameplay preferences, her overall coaching abilities remain solid. Her defensive schemes are effective, her game planning shows quality, and she demonstrates a strong ability to unite teams. White excels particularly at maximizing team potential, helping squads achieve more than their talent level might suggest on paper. Her previous work with Connecticut demonstrates this skill, taking a roster without key players like Brianna Jones and Jonquel Jones, adding mainly Tiasha Harris, yet maintaining their playoff seeding and nearly reaching the finals represents significant coaching achievement. Currently, Clark remains sidelined with no definitive return timeline established. White emphasized that Clark's long-term health takes priority, stating the team won't rush her return until she reaches complete recovery. The injury appears manageable since Clark isn't experiencing pain, which suggests a 2026 return seems unlikely. Clark has already begun full-court running drills, indicating the injury isn't season-ending. If this were a season-concluding situation, she wouldn't be engaging in rehabilitation activities. Instead, she would be resting completely for an extended period. She wouldn't have personal trainers, wouldn't attend games in team gear, and wouldn't be participating in any basketball-related activities. Her current involvement in recovery work suggests a return this season remains possible. The timing speculation centers around Indiana's upcoming schedule. The team currently faces an away trip during which Clark won't participate in basketball activities despite training at full intensity. Many analysts predict her return during a 3-game homestand between August 9th and 17th, followed by a manageable trip to Connecticut for an Eastern Conference matchup. Given the team's current momentum and upcoming opponent struggles, particularly Chicago Sky and Dallas Wings, Clark might not return for either immediate game. She will definitely miss the upcoming away games and likely remain out for this week's contest. Saturday's game appears doubtful for her participation. Two potential return scenarios emerge. First, testing her against Connecticut on August 16th makes sense, given the 4-day rest period afterward. This approach allows evaluation of her response with adequate recovery time. Alternatively, her return might coincide with upcoming games against Las Vegas, featuring back-to-back home and away contests within 3 days. Many expect the Las Vegas matchup for her return, though the Connecticut game on August 16th seems more logical. This timeline means approximately 1 month of absence, giving her 9 remaining regular season games, essentially half the season schedule at 22 total games played. Indiana shouldn't require Clark's presence to defeat several upcoming opponents. Their schedule includes Los Angeles Sparks, Phoenix Mercury, Chicago Sky, Dallas Wings, and Washington Mystics during her absence. The team should handle most of these matchups successfully. The Sparks game presents uncertainty as a close contest. Phoenix might prove challenging, especially playing in their home venue where crowd support energizes them significantly. Even without key players, Phoenix could present difficulties in their building. Chicago should be manageable for Indiana, as should Dallas. Washington represents another winnable matchup without Clark, even with a 2-3 record during this stretch. Indiana maintains strong playoff positioning. A 3-2 performance would be ideal, though 2-3 or even 1-4 wouldn't be catastrophic. The team won't achieve a 10-game winning streak realistically, so 3-2 represents the best reasonable expectation. If they manage to defeat Los Angeles, they'll likely drop 1 of 3 subsequent games. Ultimately, reaching the Connecticut game as the 5th seed would be beneficial, allowing Clark some game experience before facing Las Vegas 3 times throughout the season. The schedule's final stretch presents challenges beyond these immediate games. With Clark returning, they should defeat the Sparks. Clark's absence without a specific return timeline doesn't warrant season-ending concern. A groin injury that isn't a severe strain, tear, or major damage probably won't improve significantly with complete season-long rest. Clark needs to re-establish her running rhythm since her game relies heavily on constant movement and floor coverage. Recovery appears nearly complete, possibly 95% or even 100% healed. The remaining consideration involves preventing re-injury, since Clark hasn't experienced serious injuries previously, only minor ones. Extended rest offers minimal benefit. The team has no playoff chances without her participation. The situation might require managing her appearances carefully. Perhaps she plays against Connecticut, feels fine through Tuesday and Wednesday, participates in Saturday's game, but needs rest before Sunday's contest. These muscle injuries might necessitate playing every other game, requiring 3 days between appearances for complete recovery. If this pattern proves necessary, she might need to alternate games throughout the remaining schedule. Playoff management could involve playing Game 1, resting Game 2, and returning for Game 3 with extended rest periods. Regardless of specific scenarios, Clark will almost certainly return this season. She wouldn't be engaging in comeback preparation if a season return wasn't planned. Without any possibility of returning this season, she wouldn't be attempting rehabilitation.